We had someone ask concerning a person who has passed away, and they haven't given zakah for a number of years, and now what can the inheritors do with that money, and what can they do to make up for this person's shortcoming? Now, first and foremost, the person had ample time given to them by Allah to pay zakah, and they chose not to pay zakah. So every time you delay zakah, even a small delay, you are actually sinful, because now you've taken a right of the poor and you have taken it away from them. You haven't given them their right, because this money that we owe as zakah becomes immediately, that's the right of the poor. So this person has been incurring sin during their life and has chosen not to give this zakah. Now, when the person dies, the money itself transfers, the ownership of that money transfers to the inheritors. So in actual fact, now that money itself has transferred and is now the property of other people. It's no longer the property of the deceased because he's gone. So in that sense, making up for the sin wouldn't be actually possible. Now, if the inheritors wanted to give charity on that deceased person's behalf, that's perfectly fine, trying to make up for the sin. And however much they gave, that would be perfectly fine, and the more the better. Yet the sin the person has committed is very grave, because they've left an obligation. An obligation they had ample time to do and perform, and they chose not to do it. So to actually make up for it, you couldn't say that it would be made up for. Okay, you could hope by giving lots of charity on their behalf that some of that sin would be alleviated, because good sins wipe out bad sins. But to say it had all been alleviated, that would be very difficult to say, if not impossible. So the money now belongs to the inheritors. The inheritors, once they've owned that money for a year, they would have to give zakah on it, because it's their money. So in a nutshell, making up for the sin the person has committed, very difficult to say that you can make that sin up, because they've left an obligation, and giving charity on their behalf is something recommended. Obligations are far heavier than recommended deeds. So if the inheritors want to give as much as possible in charity, that's something good. But as for saying that will wipe out the sin that the person committed, then one cannot say that.